Hey friends, welcome back to Rita Talks. I'm Rita, and on this YouTube channel, I just share some of the thoughts, ideas that I've been thinking about, some of the things that have been going on in my life. And in today's video, well, first of all, you can see that I'm feeling much better, and basically, I've started to notice that, like, in my life, I have lots of ups and downs, and you get to notice them. But also, these ups and downs are super related to my menstrual cycle, and I forget about it for a little while, and then it hits me. Like, I feel terrible. And then, after like the first few days of my period, I start feeling better. So today is was my third day of the period or fourth day of the period, and so I was like, actually I was quite productive. So this is the time when I think estrogen, I don't know how you call that, but I know I'm confusing French and English, but anyways, estrogen maybe. So that's the time where and estrogen is getting spiked, and it's gonna keep increasing. So I'm just gonna try to make the most of this time where I'm feeling good, to just do the stuff that I care about. So I had a very productive day, and I have a few thoughts that I want to talk about today, coming from an absolutely amazing, like, I think this was probably the best podcast episode that I've ever listened to, and that's something to say, right? Especially that I listen to a lot of podcast episodes. So wow, I was just like completely blown away by just the quality of this episode. And if there was one episode that I would re-listen to, I think minimum 5 times, it's this one. Rita, when you're listening to this, just stop everything and go listen to this podcast episode. It's absolutely amazing. It's basically the podcast episode on that same podcast that I was mentioning yesterday from Naval. And basically, it's this one. I'm just gonna hide so that you can see this. Let's see. This is not working. Okay, it's this one. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a 3-hour podcast episode with very, very interesting discussions and questions and stuff like this, where basically Naval is being interviewed on his different tweet storms that he wrote on how to get rich, but basically he only called it how to get rich to like get kind of the buzz for it, or like get the attention there. But what he actually means by getting rich is just basically building wealth. And actually, I think this episode does not only talk about how to get rich or how to build wealth. I just think it talks about general philosophies for life. And wow, I'm so blown away by the depth of Naval's thinking. I just can't get enough of like learning from him. It's just so impressive, the kind of quality of his thinking, and how he's able to kind of compress some very complex topics into some simple heuristics that you can use in your day-to-day life. And it's just so amazing to see. And honestly, I'm so lucky. Like, we are so lucky to live in this day and age where basically Naval only has to make this episode once, and any number of people can listen to it. And it's just incredible, and I'm so grateful to have had the chance to learn from him, even through this decentralized way, because I mean, I hope I do meet him someday, just to thank him for all of the learnings that he's given me. But I would be okay if I don't. And just learning from him and from these podcast episodes that he makes is just enough for me. I mean, not enough, it will never be enough. Like, I would love to meet you in person, genuinely. But given that it's somewhat unlikely, I would be okay with not meeting him and just being super grateful for this kind of content that he puts out in these kind of interviews and basically sharing his thought processes around different topics. So actually, like a topic that I wanted to bring up in today's video, let me just find it. So again, I have extensive list of notes from this podcast episode, and actually I think I have written my longest self-reflection note on anything. So this is the one that I want to talk to you guys about. And basically I was listening to this snippet and like I paused and I wanted to think about it for a second, and I was just like writing my own thoughts on this and like some corollaries to whatever he was saying. So without further ado, let me tell you all about this stuff. So basically, at some point in the episode, I think, I don't know, maybe around maybe 1.5 hours in, he talks about this idea that like labor and capital, like basically he always talks about this idea that there are many forms of leverage, and the oldest form of leverage has been labor, so people working for you and stuff like this. And that's how like that's how people made their money, just using people's labor to get wealthy to some extent. And then the kind of leverage that was the most used in the previous century for people like Warren Buffett, etc., has been capital. And so the more recent forms of leverage, and the ones that we can use and that are actually permissionless, are basically, well, these are permissionless kind of leverage, whereas the first two are not permissionless because you need someone to give you permission to be able to leverage them. You need people to work for you, and you need, for capital, people to give you money. Whereas the last two forms of leverage, so code and media, in this day and age, you don't need anyone's permission to basically be able to do them. If you know how to code, no one can stop you from coding some very cool thing. And to the same extent, no one can stop you from making videos and putting them on the internet and podcasts and stuff like this and putting it on the internet, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. Anyway, these are like types of leverage, right? And basically he was just talking about this idea that labor and capital are less egalitarian form of leverage than more recent or more relevant leverage in this day and age, which is media and code. And basically the reason for this is that these two types of leverage require more of a human element to provide a service, and therefore less egalitarian and fair it feels. For example, he gave this example of Jeff Bezos gets better vacations than us because he can afford to have, I don't know, a lot of people to work for him and provide this good vacation experience. So that's something that his leverage like provides him with. But Jeff Bezos does not get to watch better movies than you and I, because the movies that exist in the world are, especially the best movies, are accessible to everyone. So let's say the best TV series, let's say Game of Thrones. Jeff Bezos is watching the same Game of Thrones that you and I are watching. Maybe he's watching it in a better screen, in like a home cinema or something, but he's not watching a fundamentally different content, right? And so basically from the fact that media and code are really easy to replicate at no marginal cost, it makes them more egalitarian as compared to labor and capital, because it means that regardless of how much money you have, you can access the same level of quality. So he also gave an example that, for example, Jeff Bezos does not have a better Google search, results. He does not have like a special Google search account that gives him better search results than the rest of us, right? And so basically, we all get the same quality because these methods of leverage, media and code, are more egalitarian as compared to other forms of leverage and capital. Other forms and leverage, the other two forms of leverage, which are labor and capital. So basically, from thinking about this, I just was thinking about this and I'm like, okay, I think he also talked about it a bit later at that point, and I'm happy that I came up with the same conclusion he did, because at this point I stopped listening. But then he goes on and actually mentioned it just after he talks about this. But basically, I was coming up with some kind of corollaries of whatever he was saying. And I just got super excited. I was just literally walking in the street, and I just stopped to be able to put whatever I was thinking on this notepad, I guess. So basically, something that he talks about is that if you want to make the world a better place and more equalitarian, then the right form of leverage to use, then you should be using code and media as forms of leverage, because they don't favor someone over another person because of the status and money that they have, right? And I was also thinking, okay, to create a business that allows that actually helps make the world a better place and more equalitarian, you can actually transform something, a service or something that requires human or basically labor leverage or capital leverage into a more permissionless form of leverage, such as media or code. And basically, a few examples of that are Uber, right? Uber, what they did is that they took something that only the very few, the rich people could have, is having someone working for you, which is labor kind of leverage, and basically transformed it into a way that more people could access that experience through the sheer power of code. I mean, of course, labor is still involved for now, because driverless cars exist, but in some very narrow areas, I think in San Francisco and some other places in the US. But it's as if I don't see any driverless cars around where I live, or anywhere in France, or I think in Europe for that matter. But basically, that's something that we're moving towards. And so basically, this being driven around is something that currently only people with high capital leverage and high labor leverage can afford, but the rest of us cannot. And so basically transforming that from labor and capital leverage. I mean, I guess it's not capital leverage, it's just labor leverage. Transforming that labor leverage into more permissionless leverage, with the first step having Ubers, next step is having driverless cars. That's a big opportunity, because basically labor is a really expensive form of leverage, and so the additional cost to serve one extra person kind of scales proportionately with the cost of, I don't know, human time. So someone needs to be paid a certain rate an hour, benefits, healthcare, all of that stuff, to be able to, like, for you to be able to be driven around where you want. And basically, what we will have with driverless cars is that we're gonna take something that, like, we're just gonna have the same service, the same kind of benefit for a fraction of the price, because code and, like, once we have driverless cars that, like, once we have regulated driverless cars and, like, they're legal and all of that stuff, the extra additional cost to scale in this will actually be small, just the cost of the car. And so basically it will be extremely easy to kind of be driven around everywhere you go, and it might even become cheaper than public transport. Well, it might not be, actually. That's probably false, but it will be cheaper for sure than maybe going with an Uber driver, because you have a person who's driving, and so every time when you have humans involved, the cost is always greater than if you have just code running that you can use over and over again. It took you a long time to develop it and to maintain it, and a lot of resources to develop and maintain it, but not as much, like, it does not scale as linearly. So to serve one person, you don't need one other person, but maybe, like, you need a fraction of a person, because you just need the developers who take care of the development of these driverless cars, and you don't need one person who's in the driver's seat, right? So I just thought that was very cool, and also, like, something that I see as, like, a big domain where we need to kind of, like, we still have some room to kind of transform this kind of labor type of leverage into a more permissionless type of leverage. So probably code, in this sense, for this specific use case, is basically health. So personal training and having a personal chef to make sure that the food that you eat is healthy. And so, because basically people who can afford a personal trainer are usually pretty, like, people with disposable income and all of that stuff. And so that's where you see these kinds of things kind of emerge. Apple Watch, Oura Ring, where basically this is a more permissionless form of leverage. So I have a personal trainer on my wrist rather than an actual person who's a personal trainer. And maybe the experience is not as good for now, but I think eventually, over time, I mean, it's good enough, honestly, for me. I've really been enjoying it a lot. But basically, you want to close the gap as much as possible between the quality that's provided to you from a human type, from a labor based type of leverage, to a code-based leverage, especially in these kind of health things. So basically, he goes on to talk about that the fact that these forms of leverage, so media and code, are positive sum games versus old forms of leverage, which are zero-sum games. So basically, the idea is turning zero-sum games into positive-sum games by turning away from older forms of leverage, like labor and capital, and turn into a more egalitarian form of leverage, like which is basically media and code. And basically, this allows to cut the price significantly, whereas basically the price to the cost to serve one extra customer is negligible, and it costs you no extra money to serve 1,000 people almost versus serving one person. I don't know if I did a good job of explaining this, but I hope you somehow follow with whatever I'm saying. But yeah, like another example is cleaning. So for example, I have a person who comes to clean my house once every 2 weeks, and basically what I wish I had is maybe a more permissionless form of way to clean my house, which kind of exists and I don't have, which is like some of those robots that kind of go around the house to clean the floor. A lot of my colleagues actually have those in their apartments. So yeah, that's just one example, right? That came to mind. And yeah, the other one is that from the fact that it is part of human nature to always seek status and hence play zero-sum games. So basically, these new forms of leverage basically allow us to transform zero-sum games into positive-sum games. But you can also, like, if you want to get rich to some extent from a faster and maybe less ethical way, you can take advantage of the fact that it is part of human nature to always seek status. That's basically what brands do. Like these big fashion brands like LVMH, that's why it's the most valuable. Like I think Bernard Arnault is, I think that's his name, is the richest person in the world because he owns LVMH. And what they do is they trade in brands and they trade in status. So basically, that's what these people are doing, is that you can take advantage of the fact that it is part of human nature to always seek status, and basically seeking status is inherently relative to other people, and so it's inherently a zero-sum game. So to win, someone has to lose, whereas for positive-sum games, to win does not mean that someone else loses. It means that basically you can make the pie bigger rather than fight for a bigger portion of the pie. But this can also be used maybe in a good way from the fact that you can make something that's scarce by nature, like for example a painting by Leonardo da Vinci, which probably only people like Jeff Bezos can afford. And that's what I've noticed basically in this crypto world with NFTs, non-fungible NFTs, so non-fungible tokens, or something like, I don't know, paying enough to get Beyonce to sing at your birthday party or something like this. So basically accepting this kind of fundamental part of human nature and using it for good. I mean, not necessarily for good, but maybe to make money in a faster way. So this is where basically when Alex Hormozy says solve rich people problems, this is what he means. Like, I just made this parallel because rich people pay better, and so basically just choosing to solve rich people problems, so that's kind of like you become a labor leverage for these rich people. So yeah, I mean, maybe that last idea is not entirely fully formed in my head, but this is just some of the thoughts, some of what it made me think. And it also kind of reminded me of this kind of thing that Naval always talks about, which is become the best in the world at what you do and keep refining what you do, keep redefining what you do so that you become the best in the world. Is that it? I don't remember. I think I'm completely butchering this quote, but I hope that you get the point. But anyway, like the reason that you need to be like, basically no one can beat you at being you, and so you just have to be authentic and lean into that authenticity. And depending on which market you're in, if you have what he talks about, which we can talk about in another episode, which is founder product market fit. So that's his kind of twist on product market fit, which was introduced by Mark Andreessen. But founder, it's basically a 3 variable thing rather than having just a 2 variable. You have to choose something that you are inherently interested in and that is an extension of who you are authentically, but it also needs to have product market fit. And basically, I think that ties into this, like taking advantage of this, like the fact that it is like basically taking advantage of this scarcity and like search for scarce stuff and search for things that are rare, that drives human nature. You can make stuff that because you're the best in the world at being you, and you make a product that completely fits within that. I don't know if that's making any sense, but anyway, if you make a product that fits this founder product market fit, then basically the value will inherently go up because of the scarcity. Like that's basically what artisans do, right? Like if you're the best sushi person in the world, then you're very scarce, and so basically the units, like a small unit will go for a very high price. And also if you use a different form of leverage, like depending on which market you're in, so whether it's a winner takes all market or not, it can, like for example, if you're using a permissionless form of leverage and combining that with the fact that you're the best in the world at being you, so you can basically, the YouTubers who win are the best YouTubers in the world. So Mr. Beast, there's only one Mr. Beast, and so it's a winner takes, I mean, not exactly, because there is still a lot of room for other people to win, but Mr. Beast gets most of the attention because he's the best in the world at what he does. And he kept redefining what he did until he found the very narrow field, which is basically YouTube entertainment, in which it's like a natural extension of himself, and he works hard at it and all of that stuff. That allows him to like be in that winner takes all kind of thing. And it's the same for platforms like YouTube, Google search, all of this stuff. All of these things are winner takes all platforms, and because they are the best in the world in that specific thing, they take all of the market. I don't know, maybe I'm getting a lot of concepts somewhat entangled, but these are just some of the connections that my mind made. Maybe they're not entirely clear enough, but I just love this episode. That's why I really want to re-listen to it again, just to clarify some of these ideas in my head. And yeah, it's like incredible food for thought, and I just love the fact that it just got me thinking so much about all of these things, and like reasoning, and like, I don't know, just excited about all of these things. So thank you very much, Mr. Naval Ravikant, for putting this kind of content out in the world. It's like, I'm just so grateful to live in this day and age, and I keep on saying this, but it's true. We're so lucky to live in this day and age where basically we can learn from anyone. As like, even if I don't ever get to meet him, he has brought tremendous value to my life at no extra cost to serve me and maybe 1 million other people, right? So yeah, that's some of the things that I'm excited about today, and that I've been thinking about and kind of reflecting on. So yeah, thanks a lot for tuning in today. I hope this was somewhat helpful to you, or kind of got you thinking, and maybe transmitted this kind of feeling that I'm feeling right now, this kind of excitement and energy. And yeah, I hope future Rita, when you watch this, you get a transfer of good energy from just watching this video, and you can go re-listen to this podcast episode. And given that this whole repeat thing, you probably need a reminder of the lessons that are in this episode, so I just really recommend you just go listen to it right now. You will be surprised how much you have forgotten about, so just go ahead and do it. So yeah, enough. Thanks a lot for tuning in today. You can click here to watch my previous video on this channel, the one right before this one, or you can click here to watch my latest video on the channel overall. Thanks again for tuning in. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day, night, whichever time of day it is, where you are right now. Bye for now, and we'll hopefully see you in the next one. Bye bye!